Welcome to Interesting Choices, a podcast where we look at media and the interesting choices that led to their production. I'm one of your hosts, Kate.
And I'm Sky.
So, Sky, what are we watching this week?
This week, we're taking a look at a failed pilot from 1993 for a show that didn't get made called Island City.
Hi, Future Kate here. Just to remind you that this is part 2 of our Island City discussion. We broke up the episode because it was getting real long, but if you are curious as to our thoughts on the first half of the film, go to the previous episode. And now I return us to our discussion already in progress.
Yeah, Colonel Batman says if you joined up, you'd have to sign up, and absentee mom is, if that's what I gotta do, I'm gonna take a big determined breath about it. And then we cut to the lab and the guy on the slab. They show a close-up of the face. He's got prosthetics everywhere. She's giving him some kind of injection, I don't remember, but Sister Lady's also there so that the audience can be expounded to. And now she's doing the tracker.
Yeah, this is where they're like, oh, but we actually care. We're not the baddies here. We're trying to be humane in our eugenics program.
Oh, and this is when Colonel Batman meets Thirsty Sister. And she just immediately knows that's what she wants.
She's like, oh, you're the same color as him. But maybe I'm the same color as you because we're sisters. So therefore, maybe I'm the same color as him. And so, hello, Colonel Batman. Hello.
I will take that item off the menu. Thank you.
He wants no part of whatever she fell in.
He's immediate like, no, I have things to do. Thank you. And then we got a walking and talking scene between George Clooney and Colonel Batman.
No, they're just trying real hard to come up with new ideas on how to save absentee dad.
But we're introduced to the new guy on the team, or Major Lieutenant Mendy, who I just called Dollar Store Wharf.
This character is so deeply problematic.
Yeah.
It is the, like, you're one of the good ones archetype. So to describe this character, he shows up and he's in the same uniform as them. He's clearly part of their organization. He was transferred from some other branch of their squad, but he has a prominent forehead ridge. He's this giant dude.
He's like a foot taller than everyone else.
Yeah, he's jacked. He looks very prim and proper, and he's like, I'm a rigid military man by the book military.
Follow the rules.
Follow the rules because I need to prove that I'm a
good example.
He's definitely the, like, I need to work twice as hard in order to be seen as half as good.
Yeah.
That is the character he is playing, and it is revealed about his background later on, I think.
After this mission, we get a good amount of explanation there, but yeah.
Yeah, but like the short line that he gives is he's half. He's mixed.
Half recessive somehow.
Half recessive. Yikes. Yikes. It's a big yikes. It's implied that he has certain recessive traits, but certain traits of quote unquote normal humans. So he has normal human intelligence and demeanor. He has enhanced senses, enhanced strength, that sort of thing.
Not only enhanced senses, pretty soon, I think it's pretty soon, they just straight up, he can just sense other recessives. He's just straight up psychic.
Oh, yeah. Yes, 100%. It is never explained at all, but it's like, I sense that there are 23 of them, sir. It's like,
we've got 12 recessives on radar. There's 23 of them.
He's Worf and Deanna Troi mushed together.
Yeah. None of the charm.
Nope.
And he gets introduced, and then the alarm goes off that they may have found absentee dad, and they gotta get out there right now. So everyone just hops in the camper vans, and we get a shot of them leaving I almost call it the Bat Cave. The Island Cave.
I mean, it's effectively the Bat Cave, right? That's where Batman lives.
And then the model shots, they're really nice models. I imagine if this had gone to syndication, it would have gotten a lot of use out of this 2 shots of the cars going in and out of the ramp. Which is another thing, it's just like there's an established highway, and then the ramp folds down into the cave, the entrance of, their facility. Why does it need to be hidden like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we get some nice shots of them speeding off towards the location. Everyone's talking inside of the main camper van.
They were just discussing trying to find absentee dad and different ways of doing it. There's a lot of scientific mumbo jumbo thrown throughout a lot of this to sci-fi it up. But most of it's just we can't find them because of reasons. But here are other reasons why we might be able to find them.
And if we do the alpha wavelength on the satellite tracker, we can pick up his heartbeat, I guess. And then people start throwing rocks at the camper van.
Yeah, which it's an armored van. Why is this such a big deal for them?
Where did their guns go would be my other question.
Considering how effective their guns have been,
that's true.
Up until this point.
Well, everyone hops out to stun all of them. Get a nice shot of Eric McCormick pretending to be clumsy and hitting his head on the raising door. But they find absentee dad Scouter. That's what they detected.
Yeah, they found the Scouter, but not the rest of him.
George Clooney realizes he can pull the chip out of the thing, and lo and behold, it's an actual computer chip with, the little
pins and everything.
The pins and everything. And they put it into a reader specifically for those, for each member of the team, no less. Wow. To pull video from an absentee dad is not looking too good. He recorded
he definitely looks like he's Wrath of Khan, in the radiation chamber.
Heat blisters.
Starting to flake apart. Yeah.
White lips. And I think basically at this point he's saying, if you're reading this, I blew my thing up to get this message to you. Just forget about me. I'll be fine. Take care of yourselves.
Also, I went west, by the way.
Yeah.
I went west, by the way. It's such a weird message. Absentee dad is a very bad soldier and a very bad communicator. But yeah, so they have a lead, but things are starting to get hairy again. Because I think at that point, when they're trying to decide what to do, more dudes come out.
We get a moody shot from Commander Worf, and then we hop back into the camper vans. And I believe more people show up, because we're heading to a box canyon. Okay, this is when he's telling him he can sense all of them.
Because 23 is I only read some amount on my sensors, but Mendy senses a bunch more or something.
Yeah, there's a certain amount. There's much more than that. I can sense them. And then he does the thing where it stares off camera to indicate that he's sensing.
And then for reasons they get out. I don't really remember why.
It looks like they stop at some sort of concrete structure.
They're just he's west, so we're going to check these ruins, I guess, and see if he's here, in the off chance that he might have gone to these ruins. Like a junkyard or something, right?
I feel like they just pulled a bunch of wrecked cars into this area, that concrete thing was there. And then they just borrowed some wrecks from a junkyard. Because it really feels like it's not quite enough wrecked cars to be an actual junkyard.
It feels more like someone's yard in Florida, where people just abandoned a bunch of cars, and they're like,
I'll sell it for scrap later. And then we get the ambush, and these guys are the ones with guns.
Not all Cro-Mags are created equal. Some have rocks, some have guns. You'll just have to pick the right tactics to go against each different type as you increase in levels. This is where we learn about the prime directive.
Yeah.
Or whatever the FPD or whatever they call it.
I don't remember. Their hazardous recovery or something.
Well, no, they have a specific name for their prime directive of stun dudes. That's pretty much all it is shoot to stun always, unless it's absolutely an emergency.
Well, their staple guns can only stun people, and I feel I seem to remember rub with the situation is they have a certain rate of fire, and they're getting overwhelmed because they can't shoot their stun bolts fast enough. So Mendy grabs the super staple gun off the wall.
They straight up just have like a future lightning chain gun, or like a laser chain gun of some. That shoots really red lasers.
It's really weird looking. Like it's a bunch of pipes with a side handle, and then a stock that looks like it's meant for you to hold it at waist height, but the stock goes up to your shoulder.
It kind of looks like a super discount cosplay version of like the auto guns from like Aliens.
The smart guns, yeah.
But whatever, he's just like, I'm gonna kill all of these Cro-Mags because I need to prove that I'm not one of them, so I'm just gonna kill a bunch of guys. And Colonel Batman is like, what? No, that's not what we do. We don't go around killing people.
Shoulder tackles him, and they have a camera-to-camera shouting match. Mm-hmm. From inside the van, we can see it. And then they go off book for a second.
Yeah, so they roll around, and then like we get the whole discussion about like,
we don't kill them, we stun them and tag them, we don't kill bad. It looks like they're being completely overwhelmed, and then there's just an arbitrary point where a bunch of them get stunned through. Yeah, they manage to stun most of them, and then the fight's over.
Yes, it's very much this like, okay, we said that there's only like 23 of them, and there are actually only 23 of them, and we show you like five of them being stunned every like 3 seconds. So we straight up ran out of dudes. But like Mendy's like, no, we're gonna get killed. We just gotta murder all of them.
We gotta use the murder gun, Captain.
Which, is a choice. And like, honestly, as a character revealing choice, like they could have done worse. Again, he was doing his best. But camera pans over, and it's like
the dust settles, and one of the nameless grunts has perished.
He's just like lying down on the ground, and the blonde woman who is not the doctor lady, just
someone
some
else.
other random grunt, like looks up, looks into the camera, shakes her head.
Slow shake, no words.
Yeah, well, if she spoke, they would have to pay her SAG wages.
That's true.
And then they just go home.
Cut to commercial, like back home.
Well, we went on this mission to rescue our dude, and we lost the dude, so I guess we're going home. Is this one when they return back to the city, and then they all have to like get medical exams for some reason?
They get a scan, I guess. Every time you come back, you have to get a scan, and they go into the light tubes naked.
And that's where you get to see like weak, frail Mcormick just being real buff. Just like shirtless.
Yeah, we get some close-ups of a piece of, there he is. There he is all chiseled with his green gem.
And the doctor's like, why are you so weak? You have no energy levels, 23. And he's like, just flexing.
I'm just so tired all the time.
This is normal. I'm just...
I can keep going. Put me in, coach. And then the doctor orders him to go get hammered.
Which I respect. That's a good move. Mandating that your people rest. That's the thing I wish a lot more employers would do.
Definitely. It's just kind of funny. Like mandatory R&R.
He doesn't want to do it because his friend is still out there.
Yeah. We get to get a little insight into Mendy as he goes into the light tube.
Right, yeah, because Mendy gets his scan too, and it's kind of the opposite of George Clooney.
Sort of. We learn that the scanner can tell people's pain levels, and apparently he's in excruciating pain all the time because his pain levels are 500 or something.
Real bleak. All of these Cro-Mag people are just like in constant pain all the time, which is why they're so angry. It's definitely a like, that's my secret, Cap. I'm in pain all the time.
I'm a living example of mankind's hubris.
Honestly, the show should have been about him.
Yeah.
I don't care about the rest of these idiots. Like, just this guy is kind of the like ethical and emotional center of a lot of the things that are happening. To sort of relegate him to a secondary character is a missed opportunity.
Yeah, it's also the first chance. Oh, yeah, and then the doctor orders him to also go get hammered.
Oh, and that's where you first see his black gem.
Yeah, the black gem.
They thought that people would need a very specific confirmation that this dude who is 7 feet tall and has like 4 head ridges you could keep like your dinnerware on would somehow be able to convince one of the other folks that he was okay to sleep with. Like it is such a weird choice.
Yeah.
I understand why black gems should exist in this fiction to designate the other, but like, what?
Well, they get stopped in the hallway by absentee mom, and she's livid that they're working with one of them. And we have the he
doing more VR,
out, and then she
before we go back, before we get to the VR, that scene is an interesting. He's like doing that like thing. And then he goes off and she apologizes to 23. I'm just stressed.
I'm just mad that's not how I really feel.
Yeah. It is like, it's the most, may I speak to that, like, they touch on so many things in this, but purely by accident.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where like had they had a more diverse writers room, or again the focus of the show being more on Mendy, they could have addressed some of these sort of social dynamics or some of these systemic imbalances, but the sort of main perspective of the show is from the majority view, and so therefore you never get these things. It's like, oh no, she's actually an okay lady, she's just real angry, and that's just what happens sometimes. You just do a racism when you're angry. But VR VR happens.
Back to absentee son, and he's just doing VR on the couch again.
This boy never learns.
At this point, we get to... he tries to go a little further, and then apparently absentee mom has put parental controls to keep him going.
And then 23, Jesus walks in.
Because it's VRs.
Because it's VR. And he just like walks on the water. He's like, well, kid, how are you doing? Seems like you're having a bad time. Your mom sent me to talk to you. That's not actually how he sounds, but that's his like Orville Redenbacher sort of voice.
Your mom's worried you might have a VR addiction. And she was hoping you could at very least move that to the closet.
Yikes. A lot of people still in the closet in this show.
Yeah.
But like they have a heartfelt chat, and it's one of those like,
what would your dad want you to feel?
But he gets through to him, makes him realize his feelings.
Yeah, and he's just standing there in his very 90s long sleeve t-shirt with vest combo that are both the same color. It's harder to tell when they're not on screen together, but they are very clearly the same age.
Oh, 100%. That teenage boy is one of the older cast members.
Let's see, then we cut to absentee mom walking home, and she walks in on the son doing VR on the couch. So she's going to surprise him.
She's all ready to be like, no, do not be gross, my gross little goblin child. I told you.
And she puts on the helmet, and bamboozle, he's talking to a simulation of his dad.
Yeah, and it's a touching moment, even though they're still in that same pool area, right? Like
they're in the same pool. Yeah,
they're talking about like fishing.
They are
stuff,
fishing,
right? Yeah, it's supposed to be that they're fishing, but they're just like clearly in this pool that they were in before.
With a waterfall, an artificial waterfall in the background, and they're in the same spot they were floating earlier, but instead of floats, they're now on a rock. They're just sitting on a rock in the middle of a lake.
Yeah, they didn't even like bother like spinning the camera around or anything. It's just like they had one shot in someone's backyard, and they're like, okay, just do it. Just here, bikini lady, you're out. Absentee dad, you're in. Go.
We paid for 4 hours near this pool. Damn it, we're going to use it. And then, like, they're having a really heartfelt talk. And then the dead virtual dad's like, well, what do you want me to talk about? I've been programmed with all of these things to say.
Yeah, that's wild. I think the implication was that, like, it pulled all of his personality stuff from his files.
Records. Yeah.
So just imagine that your child is interacting with a virtual version of you culled from your Twitter history. And
it's not quite there, because it's saying things like, I've been programmed.
Yeah, it is wild. And also probably like a version of the dad that this kid's never seen, right? Like, because he's probably only seen the, like, I'm the serious parent. Hello, I care about you, my son. Versus the, like, person that's, like, super angry about them having the wrong type of paper at the commissary. It's revealed that the mom and dad met at this, like, survival training camp thing, which ends up being one of the reasons why the mom believes so firmly that the absentee dad is still alive, because he's got the skills, he's got the training, he needs to be out there. But, like, she never really talks about it until
pretty far in.
Yeah.
And then she just kind of quietly backs out of the room. And we cut to Sister Lady walking in on Colonel Batman doing work, and she's in her, I don't know what to call it, it's the I'm here to get it skirt. This is her, she's out hunting outfit.
The getting lucky outfit, yeah.
She's going for it, and this is her uniform for going for it.
He's not having it. He's, like, being as polite as humanly possible, but he's like,
Have a seat, I'm working, nice to see you, have a seat.
She's, like, kind of the comic relief, even though they never really paint her that way. But everyone else is very serious about serious things.
Mm-hmm. And she's just 100% on the prowl all the time. Sorry, they just walked past the guy they picked up in the beginning, and he's still just in the hangar chilling.
Yeah, he's, like, just literally in the hallway. There's never any idea that they're going to move him to a more permanent facility. They're
just keeping him there now.
Yeah. This society is so half-assed for being as technologically advanced as they are. They're just like, it's fine.
Well, and then Sister Lady's driven off because absentee mom has come up. She's got her re-enlistment compact, and she's here to sign back up to help find her husband.
Yeah, it's time for her to squat up, because if she doesn't go out there and find him, nobody will.
Yep. But that compact is the second piece of product placement, the only two in the whole thing. It's literally just like either a makeup compact or a folding pocket calculator, I guess, because it's got a number pad and just a circle with a tiny hole that he shines a laser in, and that's him signing her documents. And it's got a big old AT&T logo right there.
Bless, AT&T, bless.
And just like that, she's back in the army. But then we get to the club.
Right, this is our second time at the club, but it's not sisters just having a fun time out this time.
We see George Clooney pick up a drink, and he's got a turtleneck with a teardrop cut out right.
Boob window.
Little boob window. And he literally runs into Mendy, who's like a good head taller than he is. They have a nice awkward stare down before they recognize each other. And we get a good look at Mendy in his 90s club jacket. It kind of looks like a members-only jacket.
But this is the scene where we learn why he's 23.
Yep. And then also, we just had a brief moment where Mendy asks if he's ever heard of a black gem, and then 23 responds, I've never seen one, but I've heard of them. They're chatting. Mendy talks about his mom and what happened there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely one of those, you gotta protect the white ladies from these Cro-Mags.
I just saw the moment when he mentioned it, because Eric McCormick made a face.
Yeah, it's really gross, honestly. I understand why they had to come up with an explanation for why they have a half recessive person on the team. They could have come up with a less gross one than one that they gave.
I can guess why. It's still not a good reason, but it's like a lot of the stuff they just sort of throw in around him is to try to get sympathy for him. Just try to make the audience more sympathetic for him instead of actually giving him more to do or say, or instead of just lumping all these character events and traits onto him.
Yeah, and unfortunately a lot of the do it is we'll do it by dehumanizing the parts of you that you're trying to reject, and instead of being I don't know, it would have been a real, honestly, a stark departure if it was his dad was the quote unquote pure human, the normal human, and his mom was a recessive who they captured or something, right? That would have been deeply fucked up for different reasons, but at least it wouldn't have, that would be a little bit closer to actually what happens in colonialism. This is the fantasy of, the evil other is out there to do horrible things to our women, literally given flesh, and it's super gross.
Yeah. And it's really just there for him to be I didn't ask for this, instead of them giving him better lines.
Yeah, honestly, if you wanted to do something like that, you could have just been I had parents who had the same color gem, but something happened.
Yeah, it's a 1 in a million.
Yeah, we don't understand the science fully. That's it.
Yeah.
It didn't have to be gross.
And then, of course, it's also there just so, 23 can just be immediately sympathetic towards him.
Yeah. You can't really have much of many long emotional moments without some action. So bring in the Greg squad.
I don't remember if we catch their numbers, but he's really going for playing 4 different people on screen at the same time.
Yeah, honestly, he's trying his best.
So his clones show up at the club to hassle him. So he's hassling himself, essentially. And they're flipping him stuff because he's the smart one. And they're all other various shades of not smart. Or
yeah, he got the brains, but they got the bronze. And so they're going to beat him up because of that. And also he has a job, I guess is the implication.
Yeah. They're kind of
real upset he has a job.
They're mad that he has a place in society, I guess.
Even though they all have gems, they can go get laid. They seem to have good clothes. Nothing's stopping them from just being productive members of society.
They have, yeah. I was going to say they have quote unquote good clothes. They're not ripped. I don't know that I'd wear that, but
I mean, they're ugly, but they are one of those clones. 100% will have a drunken hookup with thirsty sister.
Oh yeah,
hands down, because they're fine, right?
Well, we got the aggressive one with the slick back hair, white long sleeve tee, and vest, as was the style at the time. We got a moody one in a zip up hoodie who's just kind of off to the side. And then we have a twitchy one. He's got kind of a Kramer hairstyle going on and an actual suit.
Yeah, they're all very cartoon characters.
Yeah. Someone had a sheet of what they wanted them to be like, and someone else just wrote caricature under traits.
It seems like an improv exercise that went really wrong. Again, they have gems.
Mm-hmm.
They are functional members of society. We've seen that the RCF or whatever they are will hire literally anyone, including the half recessive guy. Sure, he has powers and is super strong, but he's not super brilliant either. And there's no reason that they couldn't hire these people other than the fact that they're probably just terrible at doing whatever they're doing.
I'm sure they've got fine qualities. They don't display them here, but we also find out why 23 has clones. So apparently, before all this happened, there was a super soldier program to create the perfect soldier, and that failed. And a number of clones were created, and instead of, I don't know, not bringing them to term or however this happened, they just let them grow up and live lives, which is nice. It's definitely not the worst choice they could have made there.
Yeah, apparently just like an apocalypse happened, I guess, and they're just like, well, you know,
just let them loose. Let's just let them loose. What's the worst they can do?
And the implication also is that they are all immortal.
Yeah.
Question mark?
I think maybe they just took the drug after that happened. Like they were around before all this, and then they took the drug along with everyone else.
Yeah. They're like, we will administer this very risky drug to all of these failed clone experiments.
At least 23.
Whoever ran the society before the Great Collapse definitely made some choices.
It's definitely a let's try everything and see what sticks mentality to government programs.
So they have a scuffle, but then
one of them pulls a knife on Mendy. 23 gets shoved around a smidge, and we get another fine example of Eric Mcormick pretending to be clumsy when he's not.
I'm not sure if we glossed over it, but there was a discussion between Colonel Batman and Mendy at one where Mendy kind of straight up says, "You can't fire me, I quit," or "I will quit," and then he implies that the reason that Colonel Batman's
I forgot about that.
Yeah, got such a
chip on his shoulder.
Huge chip on his shoulder and is pulling so hard to find his dude is because he has a lot of guilt because of who his father is.
Yeah, and it turns out, and this is another one of the very optimistic things they throw out about possibly having a future. It turns out that Colonel Batman's dad invented the immortality drug.
Oops. Oops.
Whoopsie doodle.
Human civilization. Oops. But my kid's just gonna drive around this camper van
with all his friends and put tracking bugs in all the jocks.
I understand that Colonel Batman is the main character, and probably if the show went on, it would be interesting to explore how he managed to not be ostracized by all of humanity and forced to live in a cave for the rest of his life because of his association. Because in the real world, relatives of criminals get a lot of splash over from the guilt by association. Whereas, this guy literally just caused the end of the human race. And, his son's just yo, hello, I'm a colonel and I've got this truck. Hello.
Williker's dad, my army buddies don't like me no more.
I guess maybe the only person that's willing to say anything about it is this guy that's yo, you suck. But everyone else is just too polite. They're just wow.
Well, he's not his father.
He's not his father. Yeah. Whatever.
He can drive the truck around as long as he's not doing science.
It's some amount of he's hot and he's vaguely useful. This squad is not what I would call an elite military unit, right? They have a doctor, they have a clone who is a scientist, engineer guy who is absolutely useless at fighting.
Yeah.
At best, this could be a Baywatch type situation. They are not an A-team. They are not They are not doing commando ops. They are just there to just make sure nobody drowns.
Yeah, they never really lampshade but it really feels like this is one of those company of misfits kind of deals.
Mm-hmm. Maybe they'll explore later on, but I guess without the external perspective from the normal citizenry, you never get the sense of where their place in society is.
Yeah.
You don't understand if their organization is respected or if they're vilified, or like if the regular citizens think that it's a waste of time and money to be sending people out to stun and tag these folks instead of just straight up exterminating them, because why wouldn't you?
They never really kind of say if normal people know that they exist by and large. Like, they're definitely not top secret, but like it might just be something nobody thinks about, which would be really weird.
I guess if people are outside, somebody rescues them, but not my business. I have to worry about like making these keyhole shirts.
But like, we don't get a sense of the military really beyond them. We've got like 2 trucks and like maybe 30 people, 8 or 10 of which go out of the field at the time, and the rest just seem to be wandering around poking at computers.
Yeah, which, again, there's like a whole engineering squad. I don't know why 23 goes out into the field at all, ever.
It seems like when he's there, he runs the scanners, but like, and then later he fixes something, but...
Do they really need this guy who's clearly set up to be like a genius level intelligence, who could be making, I don't know, advanced algae filtration systems for their base, instead worry about Baywatching it up out in the wasteland?
Choices.
Bad governance.
It's just full of choices. There's so many choices. It's like, we don't even know if this is all the military does. There might be more branches. We don't know. They might have a standing military that we just never see, that doesn't do anything because they're not fighting or anything. Yeah,
I think our answers will be had if we ever find out what RCF means, but
that's not going to happen. But back to the bar fight. 23 gets shoved around like it's high school, and then Mendy swoops in.
Yeah, he's a big brawler dude, and his job is to protect the little dude, and it's a well-worn, established dynamic, but they're setting it up here, and I'm okay with it, honestly. It's like,
yeah,
you got the buddy cop thing going.
I honestly like that. It sets up another side of the relationship polyhedron I've got charted out. But he just grabs the 2 clones that are keeping him in place and overhead throws them through a paper wall behind him.
Either they do not have solid architecture, or those people are very dead, and he just straight up murdered 2 mans.
And then we get the whole catching the fist, crushing the fist moment that really hammers in that he's just real strong.
It's basically everything that Dolph Lundgren would do in another movie, or like a better movie, slightly better movie. Just imagine that, but like a little slower and a little poorly filmed, a little worse filmed.
Without any actual hand-to-hand. No punches thrown, no kicks, just... And then we have the bro moment between 23 and Mendy.
I'm not mad about those 2 becoming friends, because like... You need some level of like emotional camaraderie and connection in an ensemble cast like this, and you don't super have it yet until this moment.
Yeah, but after the club, we cut back to the Batcave, and we got a message from the chief.
Is that where she's like, "It's over, boys. No more searching for this guy"?
Yeah, I believe this is the final. We're done looking for him. We already lost 1 person. We're not going to lose 2 people to find 1 person.
But then, conveniently,
yep,
there's just an excuse for them to go back out again. Because I think the original Pioneer lady from the very beginning of the film,
she finally wakes up in her medical Ziploc bag.
Yeah, she does, and she's like, "Oh, my babies. By the way, I had some babies. Did you know I had babies? They're still out there. Go get my babies." So everyone piles back into their battle wagons.
Yep. The battle campers. And then absentee mom's suited up, and she is ready to go, and everybody's throwing on their shirts. It's one of those small things that was just really odd to me throughout this. Like, when they get back in, the outer shirt comes off, and everyone's just in tees and tanks. And then when it's time to go out, top shirt back on.
Yeah, they're probably just very hot, or they're covered in radiation and diseases. I don't know. There's like never a decontamination sequence of any sort, really.
Yeah.
There are scans, but there's not like, yo, we've been in the waste and we're covered in schmutz. So let's do a thing. And yeah.
Yeah, there's no deschmutzer.
I do more decontamination when I go than these people ever do.
And then they get back to the little house in the desert prairie.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody piles out, and Commander Batman, or Colonel Batman, finds a doll's arm on the ground that he didn't notice before. And then some guy just jumps off the roof at him, behind him. He's wearing a cable knit sweater. It's like a very dirty cable knit sweater. Mcormick's got Colonel Batman, he's got his hand around his throat and he's holding him up one-handed because, we're establishing again that they're very, very strong. And he's just wearing a nice, kind of schmutzy cable knit.
I know that they didn't want to just have people naked all the time or whatever, but their choice of just this dirty Sears catalog for their apparel is so bizarre. Because the people in the future world also don't dress so futuristically that it is that dichotomy between, these are wearing the clothes of the past and we are now in the future. Like, the people in the future also kind of wear those things, except they have like little keyhole cutouts on their chests.
And everyone's got boob windows. I think the only real difference is the boob window, and the people in the city have clean clothes and the people outside of the city don't, by and large.
So many weird choices. I would love to get an oral history of how this thing came to be and like sit down and talk to all of the...
I have so many questions, my God.
Costume designers and set designers and like all those people, because like they must have some stories.
Well, or even just... I'd settle just for Kevin Conroy. Just because he was right in the middle of Batman the Animated Series when this came out. And that was going strong. So was he planning on doing this on the side between seasons? Or was he trying to break out of that and make the jump to live action? Or, I mean, how did this script even end up in his lap?
I think there's this idea... And I don't know how true it is, but I get the sense that a lot of actors do voice acting because they can't land the live acting roles that they actually would like to do. I wonder if his goal in getting into acting in the first place was really to, instead of be a voice actor primarily, which is a great vocation, and there are a lot of folks who are just pure voice actors. But I know that if you're in Hollywood and you need to make ends meet, but you can't land any roles in films or TV, you do voice acting to keep paying those bills. One of those properties that you work on like catches fire, and then that's just kind of your job. That's your typecast or whatever. And if he had grander aspirations of being a big screen actor and someone hands you a thing where it's like, hey, do you want to be the leading man of this syndicated sci-fi show about future rescue warriors in this post-apocalyptic world? And you're like, do I get to run around and act and be moody and maybe like use this as a way to leverage myself into movies? Hell yeah. Like, I'm going for it. But maybe that's me projecting on... I don't know what his path through life has been.
I don't know. I don't know about him, but I can definitely confirm the reason I started voice acting is because I know there's no way I'm going to get cast in live anything, probably.
No.
Well, I'm 5'3", so... Yeah,
it's a hard one.
I tried to do theater for a bit just to keep my skills sharp, and I kept running into... you've got the energy what we're looking for, but you don't have the look that we're looking for.
So it's unfortunate. Yeah.
It is what it is.
I do wonder if we've hit a point where like enough of these people are relatively washed up enough that they would be happy to entertain interviews about their involvement in this thing that they've probably long forgotten. It's just been like one of a number of things that they had worked on when they were younger and just like completely forgot they were in it. We could probably get them on the show.
Maybe.
That's what I'm saying.
I was gonna say Kevin Conroy's still doing really good. He's, from what I've seen, he's just like a really nice person. I wouldn't be surprised if he was okay with it just because. See, and then Mindy shows up to do the thing where they run at each other and then he goes lower and then flips the person over his back. And then they have a bit of a tussle.
Wrestling move.
Yeah,
he fights him, and then if I recall correctly, that's where he like, instead of killing him, chooses to stun the man.
He just throws him into a wall, and then he's passed out, and then him and Colonel Batman do the nod like we're cool now.
Okay, yeah, and then he goes around stunning other guys.
Yep.
He has put down his murder arms for good.
And then they find the hole.
Yeah, it's just like a tin sheet, right? Like
it's just like half of a pallet, like the top half of a pallet, covering a very square hole.
Yeah, just a little hole in the ground, and they're like, "Oh, we missed this hole."
We did miss the hole that everyone walked around the house, and it was very there, and someone just stepped on it and immediately noticed it.
What happened to Absentee Dad and these children in the beginning? Because it makes, like, every scenario that I run through my head is more absurd than the last, right? Like, he hears a noise from below. The children are hiding underneath. He goes down to calm them, and then there's a commotion upstairs. And then somehow he's incapacitated. And then when he wakes up, everyone's gone. And it's just him and these two kids. The only scenario that makes sense is a Home Alone situation.
Yeah. If I remember right, what they say happened was the mom sent the kids down the hidey hole to hide. Because it comes out like some ways away in like their favorite hiding spot. And then Absentee Dad was just searching around, and then he just happened to fall in the hole and get knocked out while they were searching. Which also doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because then the hole would still be uncovered.
Yeah.
But...
So, like, literally all I can think of is that was an excuse to not blame the children for almost murdering this man.
Yeah.
The way I see it, he walked down into the hole, and he's like, hello? And then he gets clobbered on the head, probably with a frying pan, in a comical fashion.
Mm-hmm. And
then they close up the thing, and they tie him up. And they're like, oh, you're not a bad man, but, like, oops. We're just gonna be quiet here. Yeah, when he comes to, he's like, oh, you rascally children, wait till we get you back to Island City. And then he pops up out of the hole, and then he's like, wait, where? Oh, nuts.
Where'd the battle camper go?
But then he never ever mentions those children in his recording at all.
Yeah, that is really weird.
So my additional headcanon is that he never meant for those children to return to Island City with him. I don't know. Like, I don't understand why he wouldn't. The first thing he should say is, if you're finding this, know that I'm out here with two kids, and if anything happens to me, you should definitely find them, because, like, they're out here on their own, and they're safe from the pollutants, but, like, they're just kids, and they're gonna get captured by these, like, Cro-Mags any time, so, like, go find these kids. I'm gonna take them west. We're all going west, so find us in this hole. Instead of, like, cryptic and pointless. It makes him an enigma in a way that it shouldn't.
I mean, the only other thought I had was maybe he found them after he made the message, but then the show's explanation of him having fallen down that hole doesn't hold up as much. I mean, we don't see a whole lot of him, but from what we do see, he seems like a stand-up type of person. So he, as soon as he found them, I would assume, be trying to do everything he could to reunite them with their surviving parent. But as far as we can tell, he doesn't.
Nope. No, he has zero care for these children other than the fact that, like, he lets them tag along behind him. He's definitely not protecting these children in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So they find this hole, and they're like, "Oh, well, the kids were here, but now they're gone, and we don't have any clue where they are." And this like storm is bearing down on us, and we're past the time limit, and the guy's probably dead. I don't know. And they're feeling bad about their lives right now.
And then 23 has an idea and then almost walks into the hole. Because
the explanation is that the places that are safe from storms and things are lead shielded, like bunkers and silos. And so if he's not here, he's probably at some other place that's shielded by lead, which conveniently is this box canyon that we drove through earlier. Yeah, and at this point they're like deeply out of time because the O-storm's like on top of them.
Yeah.
Their equipment, their radar things on top, they are vital for them to detect the lead deposits.
Yeah, they're like
they might need.
Half a basketball painted black to the roof. They're just driving through what appears to be some sort of empty quarry, and then this just happened to be two Krogomags. One's like, "Hey, look at that," and another one just picks up part of a freeway divider and then just hurl it, just launch it, and they don't show it hitting the vehicle, but you see everyone inside the vehicle reacting to it hitting the vehicle.
Yeah,
so
and then they just like kind of keep driving for a little while. Like they don't really encounter those two again, right? Like
no, they never see those two again. They drive for a second, then they stop, and they're like, "Oh no, what happened?" And then we have a moment because 23's got to go outside and fix it, and he's the only one who can, but there's a storm outside.
And so this is where the buddies forever comes back in.
Yeah, they've got the wind machines at full blast. Colonel Batman goes up first for some reason.
Yeah, instead of sending like the strongest, toughest, heaviest dude to just do it, Colonel Batman needs to do something too.
He needs to help him.
Star.
23 goes up there with a poster case and he pulls some foam off of the roof basketball.
Again, it's one of those scenes that I think I understand what they were going for, but they didn't manage to set up the stakes or the threat enough. So it ends up just seeming kind of pointless. Like, they could have just cut it and it would have just been exactly the same.
Yeah, I had, like, the soap ending thing going through my head this whole time when I was watching it. And he pulls something like a seatbelt out of the tube and then some parts and then just clips it to itself and then it's fixed.
It was about a 10-minute diversion that definitely didn't need to exist. A lot of this film is kind of that
yeah.
Like, okay, we know you need to get out to a certain time, but like, do you really need to?
I mean, they've loaded it up. I don't know that it succeeds in establishing tension, but they've done enough to have done that. If they had done a good job of it, they didn't need to keep piling it on like that.
Like, if they were literally doing that while they were getting shot at, I could see. Or if they were, like, driving at high speed, running away. So, this is basically a Mad Max where none of the enemies have cars. So you can just get in your car and drive away at literally any point and then just circle back around and then just run them over with your car.
They don't, though. Like, the one time they could have just driven away, they stop, have everyone pile out, and start a firefight.
Yeah. There are a lot of interesting choices here that make it seem a lot more cartoonish than it really needs to be. It's one of these things where characters act for plot reasons and not for any rational human reasons.
Yeah. And then even with the climbing out to fix the roof basketball, like, the only real danger they were in, aside from maybe Eric Mcormick slipping and falling, is that it was real super windy from the O-storm that was kind of almost there. But there wasn't even any lightning yet. It was just very blustery. And he might have slipped.
show some consequences. Like, show one of the Cro-Mags who's hanging onto the back of the truck get struck by lightning at an opportune moment to show how actual threat they were under. Like, whatever. I'm not a director. I'm not the person who's doing the screenplay for this. So, like, you know, they made the best with what they had.
As they're driving towards absentee father, or at least where he's supposed to be, they literally stop in front of just like a sheer rock face, and then everyone piles out. Right now everyone's looking, or at least they're running around, and then there's like another 2 people back at command headquarters that are relaying some kind of information. I cannot remember for the life of me what they were talking about.
Yeah, I think it's just like, oh, the storm's right on top of you, you got to get back.
Right.
Like, why are you risking your people out there?
Let's see. Mendy climbs onto the biggest rock pile he can find, and everybody's just looking around.
At some point, Mendy uses his super hearing, which we've established, in addition to his super strength and his
psychic
abilities. He also has super hearing, which is so sharp that he can hear a heartbeat from far away.
Which he needed to find the girls, which happened to be like 10 feet from where he was standing there.
Yeah, they were just just hanging out.
They were just in like a dip in the rocks. Like if he'd gone 5 feet forward, he probably would have seen them anyways.
They were just there. So they're like, oh, we found the kids, but like we really have to go now because like he's definitely dead. There's no sign of him anywhere. Let's just take these kids back home. They need treatment, and the O-Storm's coming in, and we're just going to get wrecked. But then Mendy just goes back out onto his rock, right?
He just kind of wanders off while they're talking to the kids. He's in the background wandering away from the group.
But yeah, and then he just finds this dude who's like lying on a rock.
He just finds...
on a cliff.
Yeah, he just climbs over another big rock. And we keep getting nice shots of the storm so we can infer that it's dangerous. It hasn't done anything yet.
We find absentee dad, and he's like lying on this cliffside, and Mendy's like trying to rescue him, right?
Yeah, it's really unclear of the geography of everything because he's like at the rim, like near the edge of the quarry. And Mendy was like just at the bottom of the cliff face.
Yeah, he gets up there and he like sees him and he's like, all right, I'm going to rescue you. And then
lightning.
Lightning happens. And then there's the whole like, oh no, is he going to drop him? No, because he's very strong.
Mendy looks like he's under strain, but we've seen him like one hand 2 people over his head.
Mm-hmm.
So...
No, he's fine. Like everyone knows he's fine. Like it's a polite fiction. It's like, oh, we know, Mendy. We know you're just milking this for for extra sympathy. And
then we've got everyone's back at base. Absentee son is dropping off at the hospital to finally see absentee dad after a long... And they've just got him wrapped up in a space blanket, and they bandaged his hand, and they've got one of the clear plastic pucks on his forehead.
Yep. Yeah, he's in a lot of space blanket. That's literally all I remember about that scene, is he kind of looked like a big potato.
That was my first thought. There's a lot of food imagery around the sick people in here I'm not 100% comfortable with. Oh, and Sister Lady's finally getting her gem.
Yeah, and Sister Lady's gem, she's like, oh, hey, Colonel, when my gem fully matches up to the blue, which it definitely will, like, let's get together.
I've got a one-way ticket to the Bone Zone with your name on it.
Yeah. Turns out that ticket was for Bone City, not the Bone Zone. She went just right past it. And now she has to find a new dance partner because her gem does not match. It is not blue like her sister's.
Oh, and there goes purple, red, blue, and
finally it ends up being green.
The color of disappointment.
Yes, the color of envy. So that is the 4 colors that they cycle through apparently in order. The last of which is green. If you are none of the others, you are green, except for the mysterious 5th color, which is black.
Colonel Batman having the most relieved look I've ever seen on a human being.
Yeah, and then this that's more or less kind of like how it ends.
Well, we get a brief moment of Mendy being, I'm on the team now, and then 23 just waltzes in and just immediately rips his shirt off, or whips it off, just right over his head. And then, I think it's Colonel Batman. Oh no, Sister Lady just notices immediately.
Yeah.
And then like a thirst-seeking missile is walking towards him.
Yes. And, by extension, any of his clones.
Mm-hmm.
Future episodes.
Yep. I could see like a double, triple date episode or something. And roll credits.
Yeah. So that was Island City.
Boy, howdy was it.
What a movie. Question mark. It's easy to pick at like a lot of the weird little choices and plot holes that definitely developed because of time or editing or weird notes from producers.
Or the network.
Or the network. But well, there probably was no network if this was a pilot that they were shopping around.
That's true.
But I think a lot of the issues that I had with it, notwithstanding, are fundamentally like baked into the conceit, right? Like a lot of the major things that all of this hinges around are deeply problematic and not well thought through, while other things were, again, like you said,
overly thought through. That seems just to be like its biggest, I don't know, problem, deal, maybe, attribute. It is both extremely well thought out, or not even well thought out, overthought out, extremely overthought out, and extremely underthought out at the same time. I don't think anything here was well thought out. But there's so many, maybe not good choices, but interesting choices as far as like the technology and fashion, and it definitely feels like they started with a start point and an end point, and then tried to make the middle.
If nothing else, it's a really interesting time capsule. It is so strongly of that 90s time period that it would be hard to divorce it from that. There are shows of that era that you can turn on today and be like, oh, okay, I'm still having a good time. It's not that nice. Like Next Gen. Like if you're watching Star Trek and you're watching Next Generation, even if it was filmed in that time period, you're like, oh, no, it has a certain sort of timelessness to it. Some bits are still like a little 90s, but like overall, it is a show that stands on its own out of time. And you have that in other shows as well, like of that era. But this one, boy howdy, is this a 90s production.
They just had a skeleton of something and they dumped the 90s onto it.
I wouldn't be surprised if there were a second season, they brought in like a skateboarding dinosaur. Yeah, or like some sort of weird extreme character in order to like play more to the demographics that were kind of in play at the time.
Because we don't see any real sports. The only real recreation you see is like VR and watching the scenery wall, I guess you'd call it, and I guess getting hammered at the club.
Again, they kind of bit for bit replicated the Star Trek Next Generation problem, where all their recreation was holodeck, going to 10 forward, hanging out in the room. That's it. This is like all they could ever do.
Yeah.
Occasionally there was like a weird concert in Data's room, I guess, or like a poker game. But you get the sense that their recreation choices were limited, but they were on a starship in deep space. Like these people live in a city where there are just like civilian humans who just have time to make like keyhole cutout boob window shirts. So, like, what are these people doing for recreation? I would like to see that.
I mean, it's just kind of like getting into the weeds, but like, who makes all the clothes? Where does that material come from? We don't see anybody eat, ever.
No. If you have a city full of the last humans, like, resources are such a question, right? Like, if you look at something like The Walking Dead, resources are a constant source of tension and threat there, right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't have enough food, we don't have enough water, we don't have enough medicine, we don't have enough XYZ. But, like, these people, like, we're living the Star Trek life of plenty, and probably they're replicators, I don't know. But, like, we don't have to really work. It's great.
You kind of get a shot of, like, the kitchen nook a couple times, and there's something that looks like a microwave on the wall, and I think I saw an apple, but... I mean, they don't say anything about it. That could be, like, another TV for all we know. It's like...
Yeah. It's... And again, like, I'm not saying that they need to be explicit about these sorts of things, but in a situation where you have a city that is, for all intents and purposes, under siege by both the environment and, like, external antagonistic factors, taking care of human needs should be a key sort of central point of the conflicts that this place has. You can't just have, I don't know, the biggest problem being that you just can't get laid because someone's the wrong gem stripe than you.
Yeah. There's just tons and tons and tons of unanswered questions that they, like, both alluded to and they just kind of didn't.
So I care a lot about world building. It's kind of one of the things that I am very passionate about. And they do so much of it explicitly, but do not do very much of it implicitly.
Yeah.
It's very much like, we'll build the bits of the world that we need to support our plot, but we will not show you anything else that will spark your imagination in any other way, like world could be. I guess, do you have any other closing thoughts about Island City?
I mean, it's a heck of a thing. If you want to kill an hour and a half, I certainly recommend at least trying it out. If not for any other reason, then you get to see a wee babby, Eric Mcormick, and a very jacked Kevin Conroy hamming it up on screen. And, you know, if you enjoy prop work and model work, it's not a bad thing to watch just to see some very 90s things roll across screen in teal paint.
Honestly, like, if you want to do a retro 90s aesthetic, this movie is a pretty good sort of benchmark for how to 90s up a thing without explicitly calling out, like, pop culture references from the 90s.
The lady who played Mrs. Absentee Father is named Constance Marie, and she played Selena's mom in the movie Selena.
Yeah, actually, I think her character's name is also Connie. So convenient. I don't know if that was like a what a coincidence or a we didn't get a name for this character, so we're just going to call her Connie because you're a Connie and that's easy enough.
If nothing else, I really feel like this is a pretty goofy but important reminder to really think through all your ideas.
Or at least run them by some people whose opinion you trust.
It's like, even if you don't take it to an extreme, someone else might, and they might draw conclusions.
Yeah. I get the sense that they were, again, trying their best. Whether they managed to reach a level with their efforts that's worth applauding is up for debate. But I don't think anyone had any ill intentions.
Yeah.
When they were creating this, I think it was just a product of a lot of people who were overzealous about things and not really, again, underthinking them a little bit too much.
It really kind of just feels like someone came up with one of those ideas in there, and then someone else was like, okay, but how do they get to blank? And then the other person goes, well, they blank, and then they just do that until there's a plot and a world. It's
like sewing your parachute on the way down after you jumped out of the plane.
There's just this huge, really kind of colossal blank spot that they just gloss over between when society collapses and then there's just one city left with people in it.
It's such a flimsy framework that they tried their best to flesh out, but these are not strong bones.
Definitely no. I mean, in a weird way, that's kind of one of the things I enjoy about it. I have fun watching it, if only because it's just so many odd choices. So many interesting choices.
Well, that was Island City, I guess.
Check it out if you're bored or high, or both. I don't know.
Yeah, where can people see this gem of a film?
So as of right now, it's still free on YouTube. The version I watched is 137 minutes long. It has some movie previews at the beginning, which kind of threw me and also you, I think, off a little bit.
There's another version without. So there are multiple versions on YouTube. So if you want to watch it in its entirety and you do not have a physical VHS copy somewhere, that is the place to go.
Definitely. I think that's everything.
All right. Well, I'm Kate, and you can find me on the internet at Army of Meat on Twitter, Instagram, other places.
And I'm Sky. I live on Twitter. You can find me at Shard_Corso. That's SHARD_CORSO.